Ian had always been the kind of boy teachers pointed to when they needed an example of discipline, good manners, and quiet obedience. At 15, he had never even thought about breaking a school rule, let alone bunking a class. His notebooks were always clean, his homework always submitted, and his uniform always perfectly ironed. He lived in a small apartment with his mother, who worked tirelessly to give him a good education. She often said, "Ian, your future is the only thing I want to protect," and he took her words seriously. But life in high school is never as simple as a mother's wish, and the people around you can turn your perfectly straight path into something blurry. On a humid Wednesday morning, he sat in class listening to the teacher lecture on chemical equations. The board was full of symbols and numbers, but Ian's eyes kept drifting toward the window. Outside, the sun filtered through the tree branches, and the sound of the distant playground felt like another world. His friends, Samir and Rafi, sat behind him whispering and tapping their pencils impatiently. They were known for being mischievous. Samir often boasted about skipping classes without being caught, while Rafi loved the thrill of doing something forbidden. Ian normally kept a safe distance from their chaos, but over time the three had grown close. Suddenly, a folded piece of paper slid onto Ian's desk. He glanced back and saw Rafi smirking. Ian slowly opened the note. It said in rushed letters, "Let's bunk the next period. One day won't matter." Ian felt a jolt in his chest. Bunk. He had never done that. The very idea felt like stepping into a storm without an umbrella. He looked at Samir, who raised his eyebrows and mouthed, "Come on, bro." Ian shook his head faintly, yet deep down something stirred. Part of him wondered what it felt like. Was it really such a big deal? Another part reminded him of his mother's trust, her sacrifices, the expectations he carried like a second skin. The bell rang for break time. Students rushed out. Ian stayed seated for a moment, unsure. But before he could gather his thoughts, Samir grabbed him by the arm. "Come outside for a minute," he said. Ian followed reluctantly. In the canteen corridor, Samir and Rafi stood with confident grins. "Bro," Samir began, "you're always so perfect. Live a little. What's the worst that could happen? It's just one class." Rafi added, "We're your friends. If you walk with us, no one will dare question you." Ian hated how their words poked at his insecurities. He didn't want to seem boring or scared. He didn't want his friends to think he was too goody-goody to enjoy life. They kept nudging him, teasing him, creating that invisible pressure that slowly tightens around a teenager's mind. Ian's heart pounded as he said softly, "Fine, just once." The boys exploded with excitement. Rafi patted him on the back. "That's my man." Samir raised his hands dramatically. "History has been made. Mr. Topper finally bunking." Ian forced a smile, but inside he felt something heavy sink into his stomach. The three waited near the back corridor until the hallway emptied. The next period's bell rang. Students streamed toward classrooms. Ian kept thinking, "We can still go back. We can still pretend this never happened." But his friends were already moving. They walked toward the back gate behind the sports ground, a place barely watched by staff. Ian kept glancing over his shoulder. Every footstep sounded too loud. Every second felt like danger. When they reached the small metal gate, Samir pushed it lightly. It swung open with a squeak. Ian froze. "Guys, are you sure?" Samir laughed. "Bro, relax. We've done this 100 times. Rafi added, "You worry too much. Trust us." Ian swallowed hard, then stepped out. The wind hit his face, cool and strangely liberating. A part of him felt excited, alive, even though his nerves kept buzzing like electricity. They walked to a nearby park. It wasn't anything special. Dusty swings, broken benches, and a couple of kids running around. But to Ian, it felt like stepping into forbidden land. He sat on a swing, gently rocking. For a moment, his fear faded. The sky looked clearer, the breeze softer. Samir threw a bag of chips at him. "Eat, man. We're celebrating your first bunk." Rafi pulled out his phone, playing music loudly. They laughed, joked, and talked about teachers they hated. Ian began to relax. He even laughed with them. He felt part of something, a group, a friendship, a shared secret. But then, without warning, a strange guilt crept into his mind. He pictured his mother ironing his uniform in the morning. He remembered her gentle smile as she said, "Study well, beta." He imagined her trust shattering like glass. The laughter around him faded slightly. Ian told himself he was overthinking. It was just one class. No one would ever know. But consequences have a habit of arriving quietly first. When the boys returned towards school after an hour, Ian felt the anxiety coming back. As they slipped through the gate again, he noticed something that made his stomach drop. The principal and a teacher were standing in the corridor. Samir whispered, "Act normal," but Ian could feel his legs trembling. They walked past slowly. The teacher's eyes narrowed. Then came the words that froze the world. "You three, stop." All three turned. The teacher looked furious. "Where were you? Why are you entering from the back gate?" Samir tried to speak. "Sir, actually," but the principal interrupted sharply, "Enough. All of your parents will be informed." Ian felt the world crash onto him. His heart raced. He wanted to disappear. Later that day, Ian sat in the principal's office. He could hear the phone call being made to his mother. "Your son has been caught bunking class," the principal said. "Please come tomorrow morning." Ian lowered his head, tears stabbing his eyes. Samir and Rafi looked annoyed, but Ian was devastated. Going home felt like walking toward a storm. When he entered the house, his mother was waiting. Her eyes were not angry, but deeply hurt. "Ian, why?" she asked softly. That gentleness broke him more than shouting ever could. "I trusted you," she said. "Just tell me why you did it." Ian couldn't look at her. "Everyone was doing it. I didn't want to look weak." His mother sighed, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Strength is not doing what others push you to do. Strength is doing what you know is right." Tears rolled down Ian's face. He felt like he had failed her, failed himself. He barely slept that night. The guilt was a weight crushing his chest. He kept replaying everything: the note, the pressure, the thrill, the guilt, the teacher's glare, and above all, his mother's disappointed eyes. The next morning, after facing the principal and apologizing, Ian walked to the school ground and saw Samir and Rafi joking as if nothing had happened. Something snapped inside him. He walked up to them and said firmly, "I'm not doing this again. Yesterday was enough. I don't care if you think I'm boring. My future is more important than your approval." For a moment, his friends were silent. Samir shrugged and said, "Chill bro, we were just having fun." But for the first time, Ian didn't feel like he needed their validation. He stood tall. He said calmly, "Fun shouldn't come at the cost of who you are." They didn't mock him. They didn't push him. Perhaps they finally understood, or perhaps they were surprised by the courage in his voice. Either way, Ian turned and walked toward class alone, but he didn't feel lonely. He felt brave, strong, in control. And that day he learned something every teenager learns eventually, that saying yes is easy, but saying no to peer pressure is an act of strength that defines your future.